Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. So welcome back to Paris History. Avec Hemingway. I'm back with Claudine, and today we are talking about Cupid and Psyché. And I'm sure Claudine has so much great information about this because this is kind of a month of love being February. So let's jump right in and hear what Claudine has to teach us today.
This is, and of course, it is Valentine's Day coming up in a week. And so that's why I was just like, oh, I know what we'll talk about. And it's also, sometimes these are just excuses for me to share some of my favorite things.
I mean, we love that.
Which is really what it usually is. So, but this is one, if you go into, especially my favorite place, the Louvre, you will see, if you really are paying attention, you will see some of the same, we could call them people, I guess, in art. And so you could see it in sculptures, you could see it in paintings. And if you pay attention and you know a little bit of the story, which we will now share with you, you could kind of put it all together, and you could, but with the art, you could hear and see the entire story of Psyché and Cupid. And Psyché was, or as Psyche is what a lot of people in America would think of her name. But she was this incredibly beautiful woman. And she was a real person. Her parents were a Greek king and queen. And so she had a few sisters, and the sisters were all getting married off. And Psyché was so beautiful that nobody wanted to marry her because they just wanted to look at her. And so her parents ended up going to the high priestess at the temple of Apollo, the oracle of Delphi, and they said, your daughter is destined to marry a horrible beast, the beast of the gods. And so this beast the entire world would fear this beast. So they told her they had to dress her in funeral clothes and take her to the highest point in this village that they lived on, and then she should meet her doom. So he told her to do this, and she did. She dressed in black. Her father took her up to the top of this very high peak, and no beast came. So she decided she should just jump. So she jumped, and as she jumped, Zephyr, who was the god of the west wind, ended up grabbing her and pulling her and taking her to safety.
So romantic.
I know, it's so romantic. And that is I'll explain all her story, and then I'll tell you about all the different art, and then you could almost take this to the Louvre with you and almost do your own little walk. And I'll have all the information on my website too. But so he picked her up and he pulled her through. He left her in a meadow where she fell asleep. She woke up and she found this beautiful house that had golden columns and marble and was looking out, had this beautiful view, and the cupboards were filled with gold. So she saw a bedroom, and so she decided she was going to go lay down in this bedroom. Well, she stayed there for many nights, and every single night something came to her in the night, and they would have, make this mad, passionate love, but she could never see who this person was. And she was just like, what is this thing? Who is this? And so she decided, she had told her sisters about this person, and her sisters were like, well, you have to figure out who this person is. And so you need to go and take a lamp, when it's sleeping, and take a lamp and put the lamp up against it to see the image, see who this person is, because it was always dark. And so as she did that one night, she takes a lamp in there, and as she is leaning over, some of the oil from the lamp spills out onto Cupid. And so Cupid wakes up and is just, what is happening, and was so upset because the gods could not, a mortal could not see the gods. So this is why there's the stories of Zeus turning himself into a swan or to a bull and all these different stories, because they, basically wanted to, um, make love to these mortals they fell in love with. So, this is all very plausible things here we're talking about. So she leaves, and so she goes and she is laying down, and she's like distraught trying to find him, and he's gone. So she decides to leave and go to Venus, and Venus is the mother of Cupid. So Venus is always thought, and we even know this now, that and that's like the Venus de Milo, that this is what is like the ideal beauty. So Venus was supposed to be the most beautiful woman in ever in time. And so here's Venus hearing all this stuff about this other girl, that they're just like, who is this woman and why is everybody talking about her? And that they're talking about how beautiful she is. So she goes to Venus and says, I need, help. I need to I need to find Cupid. And so Venus said, okay, well, I'm going to give you 3 tasks, and then you have to complete these tasks. And at the end, we'll see if I will reunite you with Cupid. So the first one is she has to go and separate the grains and the beans that were in this huge pile. But she decides that she wants to go to this wedding instead. And she goes to this wedding and gets really drunk.
Oh my God.
There's just, if you take this whole story and you take it to like put it into present day, it totally works. It's in a lot of ways. So she decides to go to this wedding, gets really drunk. She returns back, and she's just like that she didn't do it. And so, but the insects saw her, and they of course thought she was so beautiful, so they decided that they would do it for her. So the insects separated all the grains and the beans. And so then Cupid's mother says, like, well, I don't think, I don't like this idea at all. So, because she could keep an eye on everything. So then the second time, she has to go and take this golden wool from these sheep at Helios, but she was like, these sheep were like violent sheep, and so she just was totally distraught. She tried for hours. She couldn't figure out how to get close to them without them like wanting to attack her, and so she ends up staying there. And then there's this huge wind comes through, and all of the wool from the sheep that's gold ends up coming off, like blowing in the wind and getting stuck on like the briar patches. And so she's able to just go and pick it up and gather it. And her third thing was that she was supposed to get this water from the river Styx, and she had to climb up these tall rocks, but they were being watched by these dragons. And so she was just like, well, terrified, she couldn't do it. But Jupiter saw her and sent his eagle down to combat the dragons, and she gathered the water and took it back to Venus. And Venus was just like, how the heck did she do this? Like, how could she have done all these things? That these were 3 impossible tasks. So she decides to give her one more. And she tells her she has to go to the underworld, retrieve these drops that basically would achieve everlasting beauty from Prospina, who was the queen of the underworld. And so she was in total disrepair again. She didn't know what she was going to do. So she goes down there and she tries to get close, but then she ends up finding somebody that tells her how she has to do it. So she has to stay completely silent. She has to bring cakes to feed to the 3-headed dog, and then 2 coins for the Charon, who was basically would grant her to pass. So she ended up doing this, and she got through, and she got the vial. And so, but she got this vial and she opened it because she was curious, and because she thought, well, what is in here? This is kind of like Pandora's box. So she opens it and ends up falling deep into sleep. And so they thought she was dead, and she was laying there. And then all of a sudden, Cupid finds her. And so Cupid finds her and he picks her up and gives her a kiss. And that is also a very famous sculpture we'll talk about. But then she's revived. And so at this point, he picks her up. He takes her and they're flying through the air until they go to Zeus and Hermes, and they tell him, that they want to be together. And so they give her a drink of ambrosia, and then all the gods agree that the two could be married, and then Venus had to just deal with it.
Venus doesn't deal with it.
But-
Get over it.
But she married Cupid. She ended up becoming a goddess of her own once all the gods had to decide and agree that she could do that. And she is the goddess of the soul, and she's represented by a butterfly.
I like that.
So that's why a lot of times people say if you see a butterfly, it's somebody that's passed trying to give you a message.
That's so beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? But I do love the story because a lot of it is like, here's this woman. She sees this guy. He cubs around every few nights. She doesn't see him. He runs off.
Ideal.
You have
sounds
to
like
go to the underworld.
Come on over. Need sweet loving. Don't ask
and then he just up and leaves. This is all like very plausible in 2022.
Tuesday.
But in the Louvre, you could see much of these stories. So one of the really beautiful ones is a painting by Francois Gérard. And this one captures basically, it was originally done as a painting for the Napoleon family. The neoclassical Psyche and Cupid depicts a moment when they first meet. She is sitting in front of a beautiful landscape. She's draped in this beautiful translucent fabric. And then her breasts are exposed in this thing, of course, because that was a thing they always did. But Cupid is gently kissing her forehead, and there's butterflies flying around, and she's holding a butterfly. And so but the beautiful thing about this is once you know the story of her, then when you look at this painting, because she can't see him, he just keeps seeing her and falls in love with how beautiful she is, but she can't see him.
Oh.
So when you look at this painting, and I'll put all these pictures on my website at claudinehemingway.com, but she's just looking off. It's like the most beautiful painting, and it's neoclassical. So it means it's like, they have that beautiful, almost translucent skin. It's just like, it looks like ivory. It's so gorgeous. But she's just kind of looking off, and he's gently kissing her. And it's just like, it's so pretty. And then I will also put the locations, but this is in the Sully wing on the second floor in room 934. And that is where all the French paintings are. So it's a place that most people don't go to unless they're lost, but it is beautiful. Like, I think I spent 2 or 3 days in there, just kept coming back and doing research on each room and spending hours and hours on end, absolutely loving it. Another one is another painting that is Francois Edouard Picot, and it's L'amour and Psyché. And so it's also called Psyche being abandoned by Cupid. So this is the part of the story when he just gets up every morning and leaves. He's set in this bedroom with this beautiful Ionic columns in the background, and everything's draped in red. So of course it's beautiful. She's still sleeping as Cupid rises from the bed and looks back at her while she's sleeping. She stretches her arm out to the place where he was laying, and then as he's reaching for his bag of arrows, like he's off to work.
Off to work.
Or maybe he's just slipping out to go get him some, croissants for him to, return and have croissants with her. But, it's this very fleeting love. And that is in the Denon wing on the first floor. So it's very close to where the Madame Mona Lisa is, of course. Another one that's absolutely fantastic is the Psyché Abandonnée, which is the Psyche Abandoned. And so this is a very, it's often used element of her story because it is, where she's by herself and she just looks so forlorn. And this one is in the Richelieu wing. And it says on the bottom of it, says, Psyche, Psyché loses love by wanting to know it.
Oh, I like that.
So I don't know what that's trying to tell us. Like, if you get to know, if you want to know, the person better, you're gonna lose them.
Love is lost, love is blind. Who
Love is
knows?
lost, yeah. But Cupid and Psyché, also by Francois Nicolas Delattre. This one is absolutely beautiful, and it's in a stunning setting because it is in the Richelieu wing on the ground floor, and it's in the Escalier de Ministre. So it's in the staircase that goes up to the apartments of Napoleon III. So not only do you see this beautiful sculpture, but then you see the backdrop of those gorgeous iron railings, and it goes up to the Napoleon III apartments, which is, a place that everybody wants to go see in the Louvre. But this is a kind of a little, somewhat hidden way to get there. You just go through the Corps-Puget, and then you go straight up there, up the staircase, and you're right there into the apartments.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah, it's very easy to get up there. But on the base of this is Jupiter. It has 3 different pieces on the base. It's Jupiter listening to the prayers of Venus, the departure of Mercury, and then Psyché begging for Cupid as he flies away. But it is it's a beautiful sculpture because it's when Cupid is asleep and then she's standing over him with the lamp. And, when I say lamp, it's like an oil lamp. It's not like a plug-in lamp like we have today. So, but she's, looking over him, trying to see who he was. And then another one that you'll see a couple times is basically it's the kidnapping of Psyché. It's captured a few times different parts of the story. So part of the story is Mercury picks her up and takes her by the orders of Jupiter to Zeus, and this is when she's going to be reunited with Cupid. And this is this beautiful one that's in bronze, and this is by Adrien de Vrier, and it is in the Denon wing, and it's in the Salle Michel-Ange, which is where the Michelangelo dying slaves usually are. Right now, they've completely disappeared. They were in a exhibit last year, and there used to be this kind of like a 2 foot off the ground kind of metal railing around where the 2 dying slaves were. And in the fall, it was just empty with no slaves in the middle. And then the next day I came in and the little railing was even gone. So we don't know where they are. So if you go to the Louvre looking for the Michelangelos, they're not there right now. And we're not really sure where they went to.
No information.
Yeah, this one is gorgeous. It's this huge bronze one, and walk around it on every single side and do it like 4 or 5 times, because it is, he's picking her up, she's reaching up, she's holding the vial in her hand. It's an absolutely stunning, and it's in the same room as some of the other more famous pieces that were done. Probably one of the most famous pieces in the Louvre, which is Antonio Canova's Psyche, Revived by a Kiss. And this is everybody loves this one. There's always a crowd of people around this, and this is of course in the Denon wing, which is where everybody goes to, because this is where the Wing Victory is and the Mona Lisa is, and very close in the Sully wing is where the Venus de Milo is. But this one is absolutely gorgeous. It is marble. It was done in 1777. It is where Psyché has fallen under the spell of Venus after she's given the tasks, and she brings back the vial from the underworld, and she's laying there. And that is when Cupid comes across her and then picks her up and gives her a kiss. And when you look at the sculpture, it's another one where look at it from every single side. If you get there during the day when the sun is coming through the side window, it's almost like you could see through the wings of Cupid. And it's just like one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen. There's a little bench that's behind it that I always end up just sitting there for like 15 minutes until watching people just take a picture and walk off start to annoy me.
Stick around, people. Stick around.
I know, it's just like, just stop and look. Just give it like a couple minutes. Just look at it. Don't just take a picture, because looking at the picture later is not the same at all as seeing it up close with your, own 2 eyes and feeling everything that comes from it. But this one, it was commissioned in It was commissioned in 1777. In 1787, it ended up in the hands of Hakem Murat, who was Napoleon's the first brother-in-law. He later gave it to the Louvre. Canova loved to create these sculptures that had movement. So when you look at this and you see at the very end of it, there's this huge bronze handle that comes out of it. And he did that with the intent that you would actually move it. You'd actually pull it and turn it around so people could see it. And it's absolutely gorgeous. It's one of those marble sculptures that everything is so smooth on it that you just don't even know, like it's just, how did they even do this stuff? And it's just, and when they did it, in the 1770s. So it's absolutely gorgeous. Really close to that is also another one by Canova, which is L'Amour and Psyché Standing. It was also owned by Marat. He ended up having that and giving it to the Louvre in 1801. It actually went to Napoleon the First. First, he actually had it. He took it from his brother-in-law to cover some of the payment of the rents in Naples where they were living. And she's holding a butterfly, and on the base of it, it has this beautiful flower garland with little butterflies on it too. And that's right next to it. It's really beautiful. But everything, like, you just keep, there's just one after another. There's also the other one of Zephyr, kidnapping and taking Psyché. This one is in marble, and it is up in the Richelieu, and it's against a window. So when you find it, you're looking out like towards the Palais Royal. It's very beautiful. He's got this very, very curly hair, which is another thing. Like, how in the world did they do that? You can almost see the strands of hair. It was done in 1814. And so I like to look at that one, like compare that one and the one with Mercury taking her off. Very different in many ways. And somebody asked me if I could pick which was my favorite, and that it would be like somebody picking their favorite child. I just never could do it, because I say I have 4,000 favorite things in the Louvre, or just in general. I could never ever pick out. But there's another one, Psyché, that she's laying there with Cupid that's sleeping. It's round and it's very beautiful. You see her holding up the lamp. And then another one that's sadly not on display in the Louvre right now at this very time. But there's the one of Psyché being received at Olympus. And so this is when she's standing there and the gods are all like, bringing her in and saying, yes, you are the goddess of the soul now, and you can marry Cupid and live happily ever after.
I love the happy ending.
Yeah, but there's also a couple other ones. If you are in Paris before beginning of April, there is a astounding exhibition going at the Fondation Louis Vuitton, and it is the Morozov collection. He was a Russian collector, and his collection is absolutely amazing. But there is a room that is filled with the Histoire de Psyché, the history of Psyche, and it's done by Maurice Denis, and it is these huge panels that go up the wall. And they tell all of these different pieces of her story. And these stories, a lot of them, they are, Jean de La Fontaine wrote some of her stories. Ovid's Metamorphoses wrote some of her stories. So these things are all like her stories kind of combined. One of them wrote something and then the other one took their version of it and then just kept building on it. So that's where a lot of her stories come from. Another one that you can see all the time is in the Musée des Arts Décoratifs, which is another favorite museum that's in the Palais de Louvre on the Rue de Rivoli side. And there's this room that it's wallpaper and it's all in, grays, and it is her story. But it was wallpaper done in 1818 originally. And so I really am going to need that for my Paris apartment. I could cover the walls with this love story.
I think you should just get all this and make your Paris apartment a museum.
I know. I don't know why I can't just move into that room, because there is a bed in there.
Yeah, I mean, what's the problem?
I could give the history of things. I'd work for free if they let me live there.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. I'll have to float it by Olivier, who's the who's in charge of the Musée des Arts Décoratifs. And then sometimes I could go and sleep in the bed of our favorite, Vitesse de la Main. And then maybe
Yeah.
in the room, some days if I change my mind, I'd go sleep in the room where, that was Jean Levin's apartment. There's lots of options.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. Let's get on it.
I think it'll be totally go for it. I wake up early, so it's not like a problem where I'd be wide awake when people come in.
You'd already be out. It'd be fine.
It'd be fine. But you could check out all of these. I'll put pictures. Sometimes it's like it's hard to, I want everybody to look at the pictures while we're talking about it. And so I will put pictures to each one of these. You could find them on my website, ClaudineHemingway.com.
And don't forget to join her live tours every Sunday around Paris as well. And tune in next week, guys.
Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec a Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's BLEU, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.